Hello everyone. Welcome back to Grounded Roots Healing. I'm going to try to look at the actual lens of the camera here. I've noticed that I've been looking at my face in the screen a lot more. Might have to put something over the screen or flip the camera around. Let's stare at this green dot. My name is Jason, and I'm going to talk about what I believe autism is. At least the level of autism that I'm familiar with. I won't speak on anything that I just don't know anything about. So I'm familiar with autism because I have autism. I have, or would have formerly been described as someone with Asperger's syndrome. Now, my views on this have evolved over as my views on spirituality have evolved. Like I've described before, when you're starting to wake up and learn about this stuff, your levels of comprehension of how this movie and how this matrix and how this, your description of what it would be, I used to call it a game, for example, changes. So at each one of those levels, autism is a different thing. Yeah, that's pretty confusing, isn't it? So at the 3D level, it's a syndrome or a disorder, as well as all the other, what would you call them? Neurodivergent traits that a lot of us on this spiritual path have. A lot. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of ADHD, formerly diagnosed ADHD or autistic, tend to be on a spiritual path at this point. Not all of them by any stretch, but check out my new mug. My sister bought it for me. It's handmade, and it says manifest that ish. I just had a birthday and I got some really cool gifts, but anyway. So on the 3D realm, autism is a syndrome. It's a problem. We don't fit in society. We have a problem fitting into the system that exists here. We don't jive with it. Oh, I guess I should introduce my friend here. This is Bonnie. She's our second cat. Our first cat over there, Blue, is sleeping nicely. This one, she's a bit of a grumpy cat. She looks like a grumpy cat. She's not grumpy at all. She's quite nice. But she not really super fond of cuddles or anything like that. And she's, appears to be less of not quite as high on the IQ ladder as some of the other cats. But she is a nice little kitty. And we love her. But yeah. The smarter they get, the more annoying they are, so she tends to be just kind of existing here. Anyway, I lost track where I was. Now I'm talking about cats. So, like I was saying, on the 3D realm, autism, at least at my level of autism, like I said, that's autism level 1, I think they would call it now, formerly Asperger's. I still call it Asperger's. It's what I have. It's what I want to call it. And there is a definitely differentiation between the levels. And, I have opinions on what those other levels, the reasons that they exist, but like I said, I won't speak on it because I don't have experience with it. I don't know anyone who has it. And on top of that, I have a son who has exactly what I have because he's identical to me. And I can't confirm absolutely, but I believe my father and his father were also this way. Pretty positive. So at the 3D level, sure. Now the what do you get with Asperger's, we'll call it? Well, in my case, it's an ability to hyper-focus on a subject. It's a relatively high IQ. I catch on really quickly. I learn fast. I was able to score high in tests, but I have an extreme sensitivity to the input from this world, on the 3D world, especially sound, but everything else as well. Now, they would say that there's something wrong with my brain in the 3D world, that there's something wrong with the wiring, or it is primarily genetic, as in it's passed down genetically from your ancestors, of course it is. And there tends to be a propensity to have things like what they call comorbidities, like ADHD. Schizophrenia is much higher in people with autism as well, the rates of it at least. So you start putting all this together, and as you awaken, I mean, that's not all the traits. There's a lot of other things too, but the high sensitivity is what I'm going to focus on here. To everything. Our senses are heightened. Touch, smell, taste, light can bother us. And especially in my case, sound. It's extreme. A lot of, but I also, I wear the same sweatshirt, or at least, nearly always wear the same sweatshirt, or they have to be comfortable because my skin sensitivity is extreme too. And I'll get back to that because natural fibers, natural fabrics, and chemical sensitivities are like canaries in the coal mine. Okay, so on the 3D realm, we get an issue. And this, as you go up the levels, up the frequencies, let's say, of this awakening process, and you have realizations, you run into something that people call star seeds, which I don't identify with. Yes, I believe at varying levels of the matrix, there are, let's say, higher vibrational entities that have incarnated on different planets. Why not? Why wouldn't that be the case? If your soul leaves your body and goes to the astral, why wouldn't you choose to incarnate in different planets and different places? And that's the concept of the starseed. Now, there's people that really identify heavily with this, and I think that's a mistake as well. But if you look at some of the traits of these different races of entities that people refer to as starseeds, they have particular sets of traits. And autism has been referred to in the past as wrong planet syndrome. That's interesting. So the traits that I've noticed that align the closest with what we would refer to as autism here would be Arcturus, or the Arcturians. Now, that's a trap. So people will start to identify with that and say, I'm an Arcturian and I'm here on this planet, and then it's us versus them again. So be careful not to do that. Remember, you're God. Go right to the highest vibrational level. That's where you should stop, not anywhere else on that path. Up, up, up. And then, well, identification goes away. And then I think the trick here is to take the ways of being at the highest levels of this game and live it down here. I mean, I don't think that is the trick. And up there, there's no separation. There is no difference between anyone because there is no anyone. You and I are the same being, literally the same being, the same energy. There's no differentiation. This whole universe that we live in is this one ultra powerful being creating separation and creating amnesia so that this being can experience the universe through different avatars, like myself and like you. So we are all literally the same soul. There is no difference. There's just levels. Okay. So slightly higher level, autism might be called an Arcturian. And like I said, that's a trap. And then if you go up higher, an angelic being, for example, which you are, I am, everyone is. Because as you go up, the differentiation between the soul fragments and the soul pieces that are down incarnate on these different places, they go away. It becomes less and less and less until you get to the ultimate, to the which there is no witcher at the top. God, we often refer to it as, or Om, or the being that is known by 1,000 names and yet is unnameable. Okay, so we're not aliens, depending on how you look at it. In my opinion, what it is you're an angelic being. You're a high vibrational entity. If you have one of these syndromes, let's call it. And that means that every one of your senses is amplified. But that also includes the senses that we don't count, like your sixth sense. Your ability to communicate with the astral plane is amplified as well. Your sensitivity to everything is increased. You know, if my sense of smell, taste, sight, and hearing, well, the hearing internally up there is also amplified. And now let's take it a step higher. This is all a matrix. This is all designed to fool God. This whole play that we're all existing in, if there is any of us that are even out there, because how would I know? I can only see what I see through this avatar. And that's all I can really believe. So it's a movie, like I did like to describe it, because I don't believe in free will, sort of. And you're playing a role in this movie and you've forgotten that you came down here to do this. And into that role is written a thing called autism or ADHD or this particular set of skills. There is no deficits. There is no anything. There all has a purpose. The reason that I am the way I am is because of that. I'm playing a role, and this is what this person in this role had to have. So they wrote a backstory about it, but why I would be like this. Because you have to play the role. You know, there, like I said, at the highest levels, there's no differentiation. So down here, in order for this play to make sense, to fool us, it has to be intricate. It has to be extremely detailed. Things like biology and geology and astrophysics, it has to make sense. We are gods, after all, and if we're going to be fooled by this, it's going to have to be a very intricate system. And of course it is, because if a being can create a system that complicated, i.e. God, to fool itself, then why wouldn't there be a thing called biology that makes perfect sense to the scientific mind? How hard would it be to create if you can create this entire system? Of course it's possible. And that is how it works. You have been fooled. This is an elaborate illusion that you're living in. And the best part is, it's supposed to be fun. Yeah. So, autism, what is it? It's nothing. It's not even real. It's at the highest level of this simulation that we're all living in. It's a backstory. It's a particular set of skills that was written into the play that we're all playing. In my case, like I said, I won't speak to the more severe or more difficult types of autism because I don't know it. I don't understand it. I don't even know if it's the same thing, to be honest. But I have feelings, and I'll keep those to myself. As far as Asperger's concerned, that's how I view it. And, it's been a challenge in my life because it was supposed to be. And, I've noticed that, there's some scientific studies that have proven that when someone like me, as we're children, before we even communicate to a group, the other kids in the group pick up on us and isolate us. They either like us or they hate us, and they're repulsed by us immediately. And, science writes that off to picking up on different body postures and, facial expressions and that sort of thing. When a much simpler answer is, it's just the energy. I've noticed that my energy shines a light on other people's flaws, let's say. For whatever reason, this was written into the story, and I can trigger people. And sometimes in a good way. Some people think I'm absolutely amazing and wonderful human, and others are repulsed by me. And then that goes to the low vibration versus high vibrational entities, and people not wanting to look at their shadows, and all of this jazz. But again, if you go to the highest level, this is just a play. So those particular traits that you have, if it's ADHD or autism or whatever it is, it was written into your story because it had to make sense. And you needed to have those extra abilities. So I think I'll leave it there. Yeah, I don't know how well this one will be received, but that is my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. So as I always say, I hope this video finds you well. I love you all, and we'll see you tomorrow.